Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Helen and I am an osteopathic medical student studying in London. For today's video, I want to share with you some of the things that I'm doing differently in my relationships now, be it friendships, romantic relationships, colleague, co-worker relationships, even family relationships, because I think so many of us have had negative relationships in the past. We've experienced things, and even as an adult, like bullying is still so common. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I'm going to be doing differently from now on in my relationships, in order to set boundaries and to have just healthier relationships in general. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing in my relationships now is I'm not having a fear of conflict. I used to be so scared of standing up for myself in case it would cause an argument, it would cause, more negativity. I used to be so shy and just never let anyone know if I was hurt. So I could be having a conversation with somebody and they'd say something, or they'd pick on me, or they'd say something mean. I didn't really like it. I would never show it. I would never show that I was hurt. I would just pretend that it was funny. I would just go on as normal. And I used to find that over time, like this particular person or this individual, they'd keep making the same comments, right? They'd keep saying the same things, and I'd obviously be hurt by them. I wouldn't say anything. So the person didn't know that actually, like, oh, my feelings are hurt, or this is actually like quite offensive, like I don't like this. And over a period of time, I'd actually build up resentment towards that person. So I would, constantly be sort of piling up all these feelings, all this anger, all this like resentment. And then often I would just react to something very, very small, because I wasn't reacting to that one action or that one comment. I was reacting to everything that person previously said, as well as the current comment that they just made. So I used to just be kind of a pushover. I was very easy to sort of be unkind to, because I just wouldn't say anything. So now in my relationships, if somebody says something, if they do something, I don't make a thing of it, but I'll actually say, hey, that wasn't very kind, that wasn't very nice, like that kind of hurt my feelings. I think as adults, especially young adults, we really struggle to set boundaries in our relationships, and we're afraid of having that conflict and that argument with somebody, because nobody really likes to have like emotional upsets, basically. Like, they're not nice, nobody ever feels good. So I now am very much aware that if someone says anything, it can honestly be without cause, like that person can say it without even thinking it's not they're trying to cause harm, but I do actually say like, oh hey, that wasn't very nice. So I actually pull people out and pull them up on their behaviour, and it's so important to do this, because making somebody aware of their behaviour actually sets boundaries, and it also means that as a person you're setting a standard of behaviour, so people know how to behave around you. If you let people treat you a certain way, they'll just keep on doing it because they'll think it's okay. The reason why it's also important to make sure you're calling up like your co-workers or your colleagues on their behaviour is because people can often take you for granted. I remember one time I was working in a restaurant and I had 1,000,001 things to do, and this girl just came up to me and was like, oh, can you please go and take the wine order from that table? And I assumed that she was busy doing something else and therefore couldn't do it. So I said to her, I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. I went over to the table, took the order, came back, and I saw her sitting on the stairs, and I was like, why are you sitting there? Like, why did you make me go over there? And she was like, oh, I just couldn't be bothered, like I didn't really feel like talking to people. And I was like, hold up, like I have just done X, Y, and Z. I've got like these things to do, and you've just come up to me and asked me. Now, obviously I didn't know, and maybe I could have asked her why she couldn't do it, but in that situation, I didn't say to her, oh, it's not okay. I just was like, oh, okay, fine. And I walked off. And now if I could go back in that situation again, I would not be so complacent. I would actually be like, hey, that's not okay. Like, I've got these things to do, like, da-da-da. And I probably would have given her the wine order to go and sort out, and then gone and done my other tasks. So it's really important in your working environment that you actually make sure people don't take you for granted, because it's very easy to become the person everyone puts their problems onto, like the scapegoat for everyone. So it's really, really, really important, if you can find that self-confidence, to just be like, hey, you know what, that's not okay. I'm not okay with that. This is not okay, because, it will affect how people view, how people treat you and how they respect you. So it's really important to sort of make sure that you don't avoid that conflict and don't fear that rejection, because most likely they won't actually reject you. They'll just be like, oh, okay, they'll realize their behaviour was not appropriate, and they probably won't do it again. The next thing that I'm doing differently in my relationships now is I'm not fearing judgment. I used to be so afraid people would judge me, like my taste in clothes, my taste in culture, my taste in music, anything. And the thing is like, people who are your friends, they want to like you, they should want to like you for you. So there's no point hiding something in yourself. If you can't be yourself, how can people know who you really are? And it's just so important to focus your energy in a different way. the biggest issue is that if you hide who you really are, you'll miss people who'll actually like you for you because you're too busy being somebody else. So even though it can be quite hard and you can feel very vulnerable, it's really important that the more you are true to yourself, there are people who actually will like you for you, and they'll find you, and you'll have healthier, happier, more fulfilling relationships because you'll actually be able to be yourself, share your interests, do something with somebody that you enjoy. You know, if you waste your energy being something that you're not, you'll just never find the right people. You'll never have fulfilled relationships. I used to be so uncomfortable sharing certain interests with people. Like, I would never say to people, oh, I like this or I like that. And honestly, it's the craziest thing because, quick side story, when I was coming back from my friend, we were on the Eurostar from Paris, and I was sitting next to this lovely girl on the opposite aisle who was from South Korea, and we got talking, and she was basically in the UK for a bit because her friend was in medical school and she was just travelling over to see her, and we got talking, and I actually was quite honest and was like, oh, you know, these are the things I'm interested in, and she was like, oh yeah, me too, like I love like classical music or whatever. And I was like, really? Like, that's kind of, because nobody really ever likes things like that. And we actually like got talking, we shared Instagrams, and we actually like met up the weekend after. And it's just like, I'd never have had that experience. I'd never have met that person or shared something with them if I didn't be myself, if I wasn't honest. And, you know, that was a key turning point for me in being like, right, okay, I have to be myself. Like, you don't have to sort of promote everything you're interested in all the time if you're not comfortable to, but I wouldn't necessarily hide it as much as I used to anymore, because honestly, like, when you're in the adult world, like, it really shouldn't matter what your interests are, and if people bully you or judge you for that, like, that's their problem, that's on them. Like, don't let their energy affect you or your ability to be yourself. The third thing I'm doing differently in my relationships is I'm not focusing so much of my energy on what I think they think of me. I used to go into any situation, a social situation, a work environment, and I'd be so concerned with, oh my God, you know, how do I think they're thinking of me? Do I present myself okay? Do I look okay? Like, do I, you know, am I talking in a certain way? Am I saying the right things? I used to be so focused on what that person might be thinking of me. But now, when I go into a social situation or I meet new people, I'm very, very focused on the opposite. I'm thinking, do I like that person? Are they somebody that I think I would get on with, I'd be friends with? Do we have anything in common? I'm focusing my energy and my view in a different manner. I'm not so focused on, oh, like, do I look okay? Am I behaving in the right way? No, I'm like, okay, is this somebody that I think I could like? Do they seem like a nice person? Are they kind? Are they this? I don't know. Whatever it is that you sort of value in people, that's what I'm now looking for. I don't look at myself, I'm looking at them, I'm focusing on them. Do I think they'll suit me? Not do I think I'll suit them? That's kind of important, because most likely people, I mean, some people may be judging you, I don't know, but most likely people are so focused on themselves and probably their own fear of what people are thinking of them, they're not going to be thinking about you. So try to make sure, or at least I try to make sure, that when I'm in like new situations, that I am focusing differently and not so much on myself. The fourth thing that I'm doing in my relationships now is I'm actually adjusting my expectations. Now, I don't mean that by adjusting my expectations I am accepting unhealthy relationships. No. What I mean is actually I'm changing my expectation as to what role that person is going to fill in my life. I used to feel so pressurized that every friend in your life, you know, should cover all the bases, should have the same interests as you, have the same background as you, have the same, you know, dreams as you. And honestly, it's just so unrealistic. And I think that this also comes from like societal expectations as to sort of the bases that your friends will cover and, you know, how you'll relate to each other. And honestly, I think that we just have to be more aware that, okay, this friend may be amazing at X, but they can't do Z or Y. Or you'll find that somebody else is amazing at Z and Y and they can't do X. And actually that's okay. Like, your friends can have different places in your life, and it doesn't make one relationship more or less worthy than the other. And also, you know, through life, people will change. I have, like, when all my friends went to uni and I was the one staying at home, I felt so behind. But now that I'm on my degree, I'm focusing on my career and future, I feel like in some ways I've kind of gone ahead of them. And that's okay, that's normal. People will change, relationships adapt. And so it's very important to sort of not have such high expectations that, you know, all of your friends and you are going to go through the same things at the same time or grow at the same rate. Because once you leave school, you know, the adult world is totally different. Society out there is not represented like in the playground. So try to adjust your expectations and not feel that, oh, you know, this person doesn't have the same interests as me, therefore, you know, I don't feel fulfilled. Well, no, this person may not have the same interests, but you may have the same humour. You may like, you know, have the same dreams. You may have something in common. it doesn't have to be all the bases. You know, as long as you and that person get on and you have a good relationship and they support you and you support them, like, why should you not feel that's a good relationship just because society makes you feel like, oh, every friendship should be X, Y, and Z and you should be going through everything together? That's just unrealistic and it's just never going to happen. And it's something that I have had to readjust and sort of like rewire my brain to think about, because we get so much pressure as to how our relationship should be and what they should look like and what would make us happy, and it's not acceptable and it's not realistic either. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it useful, I hope you found it interesting. I just wanted to share some insights really into my relationships and things that I've learned and how I'm going to try and do things differently in the future so that I can have like better, healthier relationships and feel more confident in myself and in my relationships too. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video soon.